Today, we will discuss the dire need for comprehensive paid leave in the United States and the steps Congress can take to meet that need. In 2019, Congress passed my landmark legislation guaranteeing paid parental leave for the birth, adoption, or fostering of a child for more than 2 million federal employees. This was a huge step forward. There were only two countries in the world, the United States and Papua New Guinea, that did not provide at that time paid leave for the birth of a child. With the passage of this bill, it put the government in a strong position to recruit and retain a talented, diverse workforce. But we cannot rest now because there is much more work to be done. We need to build on this historic achievement by bringing the federal government's employment policies in line with leading companies in the private sector, and indeed the rest of the world. That's why in January, I introduced H.R. 564, the Comprehensive Paid Leave for Federal Employees Act. This bill would finally provide federal employees with comprehensive paid family and medical leave. That means employees would have access to paid leave if they get sick, need to care for an ill family member, or need to miss work due to family members' military deployment. The Family and Medical Leave Act guarantees unpaid leave for these reasons, but unpaid leave is untenable for too many federal workers. This is a policy that is long overdue for the federal workforce and for our nation. The federal government has the opportunity to lead the way on paid leave and fostering a family-friendly workplace. While providing access to paid parental leave was critically important and long overdue, it's just as important to provide access to paid family and medical leave too. Illnesses and military deployments are not events that can be planned for. As we've all learned in the past year, illness can strike any of us at any time. Is it fair, let me ask you, is it fair to ask workers to make an agonizing choice between caring for a family member or continuing to receive a paycheck? The answer clearly and unequivocally is no. These are choices that no one should have to make. The coronavirus pandemic has demonstrated dramatically and undeniably the need for paid family leave. Too many Americans lacked access to paid family leave during the pandemic, with devastating consequences. Expanding access to paid leave is a large part of a strong and equitable recovery. Just as importantly, after a year of global pandemic that has killed 600,000 Americans, why do we tolerate policies that actually create an incentive for workers to come to work sick because they cannot afford to take unpaid time off? Does anyone seriously believe that this is good public policy? Our committee has been working hard to fix these problems. We championed a provision of the American Rescue Plan that established a $570 million fund in the US Treasury to provide up to 15 weeks of paid coronavirus-related leave for all federal employees, including postal workers and others that are on the front line of providing services to Americans. This was an essential component of our nation's response to the pandemic. But paid leave is just as important for workers facing any kind of family health crisis. That's why we're proposing to take the necessary next steps by providing paid family and medical leave to all federal employees. Let's be clear, paid leave would benefit both workers and employers. You don't have to take my word for it. Today, we will hear from a small business employer on why this policy is in fact good for business. Employers in states that have adopted a paid leave program largely report that it is more convenient to administer and improves competitiveness. In fact, support for a national paid leave policy among both large and small businesses is quickly growing. The federal government, as the largest employer in the nation, can and must serve as an example in creating a family-friendly workplace. According to a 2018 survey by the National Partnership for Women and Families, 84% of Americans support paid family and medical leave, including large majorities of Democrats, independents, and Republicans. I have introduced versions of this bill since 2000, often with Republican support. This should be an issue that has the kind of bipartisan support in Washington that it has throughout the entire country. HR 564 is an investment in the people who keep the government running. We all have an interest in strengthening the federal workforce and making sure that the federal government is an employer that attracts and retains top talent. I am encouraged that President Biden and Vice President Harris have made universal paid leave a cornerstone of their ambitious American Families Plan. In addition to establishing a national paid leave program, the American Families Plan would make childcare more affordable, invest in early and post-secondary education, and make permanent tax credits that help working families, like the child tax credit. These provisions would build the infrastructure needed to bolster economic recovery and help American families. I look forward to working with my colleagues in Congress on both sides of the aisle to advance the administration's plan to help families emerge from the pandemic stronger and more financially secure for the future. The Comprehensive Paid Leave for Federal Employees Act is one piece of the vision the administration has laid out. It will strengthen the federal workforce over the long term, and it is a roadmap for the federal government to lead by example in creating a fair and safe workplace for American families. With that, I recognize the distinguished ranking member from the great state of Kentucky, Mr. Comer, for his opening statement.